Your heart has been sending you messages for months. Most people over 60 miss every single one. Not because they aren't paying attention, but because those messages look like something else entirely. Most people believe that a heart problem always announces itself with chest pain or a dramatic moment, so they wait for that moment. They wait for the loud warning. But here's what doctors quietly know, and what most people are never told. The heart rarely shouts. It whispers. It taps you on the shoulder through tiredness after climbing stairs, through ankles that puff up by evening, through a little breathlessness when you're just walking to the kitchen. These quiet signals get dismissed every single day as just getting older. And that dismissal, that one simple assumption, is exactly what allows a weakening heart to go unnoticed for years. By the end of this video, you're going to understand what those whispers mean. And more importantly, you're going to learn something genuinely exciting. A natural food that science is now calling one of the most heart-protective things you can put on your plate. Something delicious, something ancient, and something within reach for most people. Stay right here. This one is worth your time. Think about the last few weeks. Have you found yourself needing to sit down a little sooner than you used to? Maybe you've noticed your shoes feel tighter at the end of the day, or you wake up feeling like you didn't really rest, even after a full 8 hours. Perhaps you've mentioned to a family member, "I've just been a little more tired lately," and both of you chalked it up to age. That's exactly what millions of people over 60 do every single day. And it's completely understandable. When we've lived active, full lives and our bodies start to slow down a little, it's natural to think, well, I'm older now. This is just how it is. But what if it isn't? What if your body is trying to tell you something specific? Something that, once you understand it, you can actually do something about. That's exactly why you're in the right place today. My whole approach is built around one idea. When you have the right information, you are empowered. Knowledge doesn't have to be scary. It can be the most calming, reassuring thing in the world. Because when you know what to look for and what to do, you are never just waiting and wondering. You are in the conversation with your own health. Today, we're going to have that conversation about your heart, gently, clearly, and practically. This isn't a fear video. This is a clarity video. And I'm genuinely glad you're here. Here's what we're going to cover together today. First, I'm going to walk you through 5 signs that your heart may be working harder than it should. Signs that often get overlooked or misread. I'll explain each one in plain, everyday language so you know exactly what you're looking for and why it matters. Then, I'm going to introduce you to one of the most fascinating and well-researched natural foods for heart health, the pomegranate. We're going to talk about what it actually does inside your body, why doctors and researchers are paying serious attention to it, and the simple, practical ways you can start including it in your daily life. No complicated terms, no overwhelming lists of numbers. Just honest, clear information that you can carry with you after this video ends. By the time we reach the end of this video, you'll walk away knowing exactly what 5 signs deserve your attention when it comes to heart health. You'll understand what pomegranate does for the heart in a way that actually makes sense. And you'll have a few simple, approachable ideas for weaving it into your day, starting tomorrow if you'd like. Most importantly, you'll feel clearer and more confident than you did when you pressed play. That's always the goal. Let's get into Sign 1. Unusual fatigue that doesn't match your activity. Let's start with the one that people dismiss most often. Tiredness that seems out of proportion to what you've actually done. Now, there's a very important distinction here. There's the natural tiredness that comes from a busy day, a poor night of sleep, or simply enjoying a long afternoon in the garden. That kind of tired is expected, and it goes away with rest. The tiredness we're talking about today is different. It's a heaviness that settles in without much cause. You might wake up feeling it. You might feel it after doing something as simple as making breakfast or walking from one room to another. Here's why this happens, and it's actually quite logical once you understand it. The heart's primary job is to pump oxygen-rich blood to every part of your body. Your muscles, your organs, your brain, everything. When the heart muscle itself becomes a little less efficient, when it's working harder to do what it used to do easily, the body has to make choices. It quietly redirects energy and blood flow away from the things it considers less urgent, like your arm and leg muscles, to protect the things it considers most critical, like your brain and your vital organs. Think of it like a small business going through a tough quarter. The owner starts cutting the less essential expenses first to protect the core operation. Your body is doing the same thing. And the result? Your muscles feel heavy. Your energy feels rationed. You feel tired in a way that rest doesn't quite fix. This is one of the earliest and most overlooked signs that the heart is working under extra strain. Now, does this mean every person who feels tired has a heart problem? Absolutely not. Fatigue has dozens of causes: thyroid issues, anemia, sleep conditions, vitamin deficiencies, and more. But when fatigue is persistent, when it feels different from your normal tiredness, when it doesn't improve the way it used to, that's worth a conversation with your doctor. Here's something I want you to hold on to right from the start. The heart is one of the most responsive organs in the human body. With the right support, the right food, the right habits, the right attention, it can strengthen and improve at any age. We're going to talk about one of the most powerful natural tools for that very thing very soon. Sign 2. Shortness of breath during light activity. The second sign is one that a lot of people experience but explain away: feeling winded when you really shouldn't be. Climbing a flight of stairs used to be effortless. Now you need to pause at the top. Or maybe you've noticed that walking through a parking lot to the grocery store leaves you a little out of breath. You might even notice it when you're lying flat in bed at night, a sensation that makes you want to prop yourself up with an extra pillow. Here's what's happening inside. When the heart isn't pumping as efficiently as it should, blood can sometimes back up, particularly into the vessels around the lungs. The lungs are incredibly sensitive to this. Even a small increase in pressure in those surrounding vessels can make the lungs feel like they're working against extra resistance. Breathing becomes a little more effortful. You need more breaths to feel satisfied. A wonderful way to picture this: imagine breathing through a perfectly open straw. Easy, free, effortless. Now imagine that straw has just a slight crimp in it. You can still breathe, but you have to work harder to pull the same amount of air. That's what happens to the lungs when the heart is under strain. The clue here is the word light. Breathlessness after running or vigorous exercise is completely normal. Breathlessness after walking slowly, after a conversation, or after lying down, that's the signal worth noting. And again, breathlessness has other causes too. Lung conditions, allergies, anxiety, all of these can play a role. But when breathlessness arrives without a clear explanation and gets in the way of your daily routine, your heart deserves to be part of that conversation with your doctor. Now, I want to ask you to do something while we continue. As we go through these 5 signs, think about whether any of them feel familiar. Not to alarm yourself, but simply to build your own awareness, because awareness is the first step. And I'm going to keep you right here with me, because sign 3 is one that almost everyone misses completely. Sign 3. Swelling in the ankles, feet, or legs. This one is so common that many people assume it's just a normal part of aging. And while some degree of leg swelling can come from long periods of sitting or standing, there's a specific kind of swelling that tells a different story. We're talking about swelling that tends to appear in both ankles or both feet, that gets worse as the day goes on, and that improves somewhat when you elevate your legs overnight. You might press on that puffy area and notice that the skin holds the indentation for a moment before slowly filling back in. Doctors call this pitting edema, but the name isn't what matters. What matters is that you recognize it. When the heart is struggling to pump blood forward as effectively as it should, blood can pool in the lower parts of the body. Gravity does its work, and that pooled blood increases pressure in the veins of the legs and ankles. The fluid portion of the blood slowly leaks out of the vessels and into the surrounding tissue. That's the swelling you see and feel. Picture a garden hose that has good water pressure flowing through it. The water moves forward freely. Now imagine the pressure at the far end is partially blocked. Water starts to back up and eventually seeps out through any small gap in the hose. That's essentially what's happening in the veins when the heart isn't moving blood forward with full efficiency. Swollen ankles alone don't diagnose a heart problem. They can also come from kidney issues, certain medications, or long periods of inactivity. But when swelling is consistent, bilateral, meaning both sides, and comes alongside other signs like fatigue or breathlessness, it deserves professional attention. I'd love to pause here for just a moment and ask you something directly. Have you noticed any of these three signs? The unusual tiredness, the breathlessness with light activity, or the ankle swelling, in yourself or in someone you love? If you have, I want you to drop a word in the comments below. Just type yes or learning. Not to worry, not to share personal medical details, just to let this community know that this information is landing somewhere real. Because you watching this, staying informed, and being willing to ask questions, that is exactly the kind of thing that changes health outcomes, and I truly mean that. Now let's keep going, because signs 4 and 5 are the ones that people are most likely to miss entirely. And they're important. Sign 4. A persistent cough or wheezing, especially at night. This one surprises most people. A cough feels like a lung problem or a cold, not something connected to the heart. But there's a very specific kind of cough that is directly linked to how the heart is doing. This cough tends to be persistent, meaning it lasts more than a few weeks without a clear cause. It's often dry or produces a small amount of white or pinkish-tinged mucus. It tends to be worse when you're lying down. Some people notice it particularly at night, or they find themselves needing to sit up to stop coughing. In some cases, there's a wheezing sound with breathing that comes and goes. What's behind this? Returning to what we discussed about breathlessness, when the heart isn't pumping efficiently, fluid can build up in and around the lungs. The lungs respond to this extra fluid the same way they would respond to any irritant. They try to clear it. The cough is the body's attempt to clear what feels like congestion, even though the congestion isn't from a virus or bacteria. It's from fluid that is backed up because of reduced heart efficiency. Think of it like a slow drain in a sink. The water doesn't overflow dramatically. It just sits higher than it should, and the sink keeps trying to drain what it can. The cough is the body's version of that drain trying to do its job. Again, a cough is one of the most common symptoms in medicine, and most coughs have very ordinary explanations. Allergies, postnasal drip, acid reflux, and respiratory infections are all far more common causes than heart issues. But a cough that is unexplained, persistent, worse at night, and accompanied by any of the other signs we've discussed, that's worth bringing to your doctor's attention. Sign 5. Heart palpitations or an irregular heartbeat sensation. The fifth sign is one that tends to cause a lot of anxiety when it first happens, and we're going to take all of that anxiety away right now by explaining exactly what it is. You might feel it as a fluttering in the chest, a brief sensation that your heart skipped a beat or added an extra one. Sometimes people describe it as a thudding, a flip-flop, or a brief moment where the heart seems to race and then settle. It might happen when you're resting, when you're lying in bed, or during mild activity. The medical term is palpitations, but all that means in plain English is that you've become suddenly aware of your own heartbeat in a way that feels unusual. Now here's the important thing to understand. Occasional palpitations are extremely common in healthy people of all ages. Caffeine, stress, dehydration, and even certain foods can trigger them. A single skipped beat here and there is often completely harmless. The heart has its own natural electrical system, and like any system, it can occasionally have a minor glitch without anything serious being wrong. However, when palpitations are frequent, prolonged, or come with dizziness, lightheadedness, fainting, or significant chest discomfort, or when they appear alongside the other signs we've already discussed, they become meaningful. The heart's electrical system and its pumping efficiency are closely linked. When one is under strain, the other can be affected. Think of the heart's rhythm like the beat of a drum in a band. A great drummer keeps a steady, powerful beat. When the drummer is exhausted or the drumstick isn't quite right, the beat becomes inconsistent. The music can still play, but something has shifted. These 5 signs together: unusual fatigue, breathlessness with light activity, ankle swelling, a persistent, unexplained cough, and frequent or notable palpitations form a picture. None of them alone tells the full story, but together, or even when 2 or 3 appear at the same time, they are your body's way of inviting you to pay closer attention. And here is where I want to shift the energy of this conversation completely. Because everything we've talked about so far is awareness, and awareness is just the beginning. What comes next is the part that I genuinely get excited about sharing. The heart is not a fixed organ locked into whatever condition it's in right now. It responds to what you feed it, to how you move, to how you sleep, to what you choose to put on your plate. And right now, one of the most compelling conversations in cardiovascular nutrition is centered around a fruit that humans have treasured for over 4,000 years, the pomegranate. Let's talk about it. What is the pomegranate, and why are scientists so interested? The pomegranate has been part of human culture and medicine across ancient Egypt, Persia, India, and the Mediterranean for millennia. For a long time, it was celebrated for its taste and its symbolic richness. But in the last 2 to 3 decades, modern science has started to reveal exactly why ancient healers were so drawn to it, and the findings are genuinely exciting. The pomegranate contains a remarkably dense collection of naturally occurring compounds, the kinds of compounds that the body can use directly to protect and support the cardiovascular system. These aren't obscure laboratory chemicals. They are things like polyphenols, punicalagins, punicic acid, and anthocyanins. Those are the scientific names, but let me give you the simple version of what each one means for your heart. Polyphenols are antioxidant compounds, and antioxidants are essentially the body's cleanup crew. Inside your arteries, there is a constant and natural process of wear and a kind of chemical stress called oxidative stress. Over time, this stress can cause the inner walls of the arteries to become less smooth and flexible. Polyphenols help counter that process. They act like a very gentle buffing and cleaning agent for the interior of your blood vessels. Punicalagins are specific to the pomegranate. They're actually one of the most potent naturally occurring antioxidants found in any food, and they're remarkably well absorbed by the body. What's particularly interesting about punicalagins is that when they are digested, they produce a compound called urolithin A, which research suggests may have direct protective effects on heart muscle cells. Punicic acid is a type of fatty acid found in pomegranate seed oil, and it belongs to a category of fats known to support healthy inflammation levels in the body. Chronic low-grade inflammation in the arteries is now understood to be one of the key underlying drivers of cardiovascular strain over time. Punicic acid helps to gently, naturally address that inflammation. And anthocyanins, these are the pigments that give the pomegranate seeds their rich, jewel-like red color. They are also powerful antioxidants with specific benefits for blood vessel flexibility and circulation. So when you eat a pomegranate, or drink its juice, or sprinkle its seeds over your food, you are delivering this entire team of protective compounds directly to your cardiovascular system. Not just one, a whole coordinated team. What does pomegranate specifically do for the heart? Now let's get practical and specific, because I want you to understand not just that pomegranate is good for the heart in a general way, but exactly how it works, in terms that make complete sense. The first thing pomegranate does is support healthy blood pressure. Blood pressure is essentially the force with which blood pushes against the walls of your arteries as it moves through your body. Over time, especially after 60, the arteries can become a little stiffer and less elastic, which means the heart has to push a little harder to move blood through them. Several well-designed studies, including one published in the journal Plant Foods for Human Nutrition, found that regular consumption of pomegranate juice over a period of weeks was associated with meaningful reductions in blood pressure, particularly systolic blood pressure, which is the top number in a blood pressure reading. How does it do this? In part through nitric oxide. Pomegranate appears to help the body produce more of a natural compound called nitric oxide, which acts like a gentle, relaxing signal to the muscles in the artery walls. When those muscles relax, the arteries widen slightly, blood flows more freely, and pressure comes down. The analogy here is simple. Imagine a garden hose that is partially kinked. Water has to push harder to get through. Now straighten the kink. The same water flows easily with far less pressure needed. That's what happens in the arteries when they relax and widen. The second benefit is what pomegranate does for LDL cholesterol, often called the less favorable type of cholesterol. One of the ways LDL cholesterol contributes to artery problems is when it becomes oxidized. meaning it reacts with those harmful molecules we talked about and transforms into a form that is much more likely to stick to artery walls. The powerful antioxidants in pomegranate help prevent that oxidation process. Research has shown that pomegranate consumption can reduce the oxidation of LDL cholesterol significantly, which helps keep artery walls cleaner and more open over time. Think of oxidized LDL like butter left out in the summer heat. It goes rancid, becomes sticky, and gets everywhere you don't want it. The antioxidants in pomegranate are like keeping that butter properly refrigerated. It stays stable, doesn't go rancid, and the arteries remain far cleaner as a result. The third benefit has to do with platelet activity. Platelets are the tiny cells in your blood that form clots when you're injured, which is an important protective function. But when platelets become overly active or sticky in everyday circulation, they can contribute to the formation of clots inside blood vessels where they aren't welcome. Pomegranate has been shown in multiple studies to help reduce this excessive platelet stickiness, supporting healthy circulation without interfering with the body's normal clotting responses. What the research actually shows. Let's talk about the science in a way that's honest and grounded, because I want to be very straightforward with you. Research into pomegranate and heart health has grown substantially over the past 20 years. There have been animal studies, laboratory studies, and human clinical trials, and the direction of the evidence is consistently positive. One notable study followed participants who drank pomegranate juice daily for 3 years and observed measurable improvements in the thickness of the carotid artery walls, a key marker of arterial health, compared to those who did not. Another study found improvements in blood flow to the heart among participants with established coronary artery concerns, who consumed pomegranate juice regularly. Now, I want to be clear about something important, because this is where honesty matters. Science moves in layers. The research on pomegranate is promising and exciting, but it is not at the level of pomegranate is a cure. No food is a cure. What the research does show is that pomegranate is a genuinely powerful ally. It is one of the most nutrient-dense, antioxidant-rich, anti-inflammatory foods that exists naturally on this planet. And the direction of evidence for cardiovascular support is strong enough that it has earned serious attention from cardiologists and nutritional researchers worldwide. It works best not as a replacement for anything, not for medication your doctor has prescribed, not for lifestyle habits like gentle movement and adequate sleep, but as a meaningful addition. A delicious, practical, ancient food that your heart genuinely benefits from. The broader heart-protective lifestyle that pomegranate supports. I want to take a few minutes to put pomegranate into its proper context, because I think it's important that you leave here with a whole picture, not just one piece of it. Pomegranate is extraordinary, but the heart responds to an ecosystem, a full set of conditions that either support it or strain it. Think of it as building a home. Pomegranate is an exceptional building material, but you still need the foundation, the frame, and the roof. The foundation is sleep. Restorative sleep. The kind where you move through full cycles and wake feeling refreshed is when the heart does much of its recovery and repair. Research consistently shows that chronic poor sleep is associated with increased cardiovascular strain. If sleep is a challenge for you, that is a conversation worth having with your doctor, because addressing it may be one of the most powerful things you do for your heart health overall. The frame is gentle, consistent movement. After 60, high-intensity exercise is not required and may not even be appropriate for everyone. But walking is extraordinary medicine. 20 to 30 minutes of comfortable walking most days of the week has been shown repeatedly to improve heart efficiency, lower blood pressure, improve circulation, and reduce inflammation. If walking is difficult, gentle swimming or cycling may offer the same benefits. The key word is consistent. Small, regular doses of movement over time. The roof is what else you eat alongside your pomegranate. A heart-supportive diet after 60 is centered around foods that are as close to their natural state as possible. Colorful vegetables and fruits, good sources of protein like fish, eggs, and legumes, healthy fats from avocado and olive oil, and whole grains when tolerated. These form the nutritional environment in which pomegranate works at its best, and the stress management that keeps the whole structure together. Chronic stress releases hormones that directly affect blood pressure, inflammation, and heart rhythm. Finding practices that genuinely calm your nervous system, whether that's a daily walk in nature, gentle breathing exercises, meaningful time with loved ones, or creative activities you enjoy, is not a luxury. For the heart, it is maintenance. Pomegranate is a wonderful, powerful, evidence-supported addition to this full picture. And within that picture, it shines. Before we move toward closing, I want to revisit those 5 signs one more time. Not to create concern, but to give you something clear to carry forward. The first sign is unusual fatigue that doesn't match your activity level. The heavy, persistent kind that rest doesn't fully relieve. The second is breathlessness during light activity, feeling winded when climbing stairs, walking short distances, or lying flat. The third is swelling in the ankles and feet, particularly both sides, that worsens through the day and eases with elevation overnight. The fourth is a persistent, unexplained cough, dry or with small amounts of mucus, that is worse when lying down. And the fifth is frequent or prolonged palpitations, fluttering, racing, or irregular heartbeat sensations, particularly when accompanied by dizziness or other symptoms. These signs are not death sentences. They are invitations to pay attention, to have a conversation with your doctor, and to begin taking active, positive steps in support of your heart, which you are already doing by being here and by choosing to be informed. Here is what I want you to take from this entire video, in its simplest form. Your heart is remarkable. It has beaten for you, without rest, every single moment of your life. It has carried you through everything, through joy and grief, through hard work and celebration, through every season of your years. It deserves your attention, and it absolutely responds to your care. Pomegranate is not magic, but it is real. The science behind it is real. The thousands of years of human wisdom that identified it as a healing food, that is real. And your choice to include it, to pay attention, to learn, and to act, that is one of the most genuinely heart-supportive things you can do. You are not powerless. You are informed, and you are choosing well. Before we close, I have a question for you, and I genuinely want to hear your answer in the comments below. Have you ever eaten pomegranate? Do you enjoy it? Or has it always seemed a little intimidating to open and prepare? Or maybe this video has inspired you to try it for the first time? Drop your answer below. Write, first time, if you're going to try pomegranate for the first time after watching this. Write, I already love it, if it's already part of your life. And if you have a favorite way to eat it, a recipe, a combination you love, please share it. This community of people who are taking their health seriously is one of the most inspiring things about making these videos, and your comments genuinely build something meaningful here. Also, if you found this video helpful, if it brought you some clarity or gave you something useful to think about, please share it with someone you care about. A spouse, a sibling, a friend over 60 who might benefit from this information. Sharing health knowledge is one of the most generous things you can do for the people in your life. One more thing before we close, and this is important to me. Everything we've talked about today is for educational purposes. It's designed to inform and empower you, not to replace the guidance of your own physician. Every person is different. Your health history, your medications, your specific circumstances are unique to you. Please always bring what you learn here to your doctor, and let them help you apply it in the way that's right for your individual situation. That partnership between your own curiosity and your doctor's expertise is truly the most powerful health tool there is. Make sure you're subscribed and that the notification bell is on so you don't miss it when it goes live. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Truly, the fact that you chose to sit down, focus, and invest in your own understanding of your health, that is not a small thing. That is a meaningful act of self-respect and self-care. Your heart has been with you every step of your journey. Now you have a little more of the knowledge you need to be there for it in return. Take that knowledge gently, carry it with confidence, and remember, every positive choice you make, every pomegranate seed, every gentle walk, every restful night, adds up to something real. Take good care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one.